and you are watching another Blewett Blitz film review. He has the ability to, trust me, he definitely does. Just his outside of ability, his hang in the air, his yak ability, it's all there. Lowers his helmet, low man wins, bang, rocks the guy.
Hall running free, Breece Hall inside the 10, he's gonna score!
The corners all do their job. You know, if you look at the picture right here, lock.
3rd and 1. Stevens always drilled. What a great defensive play.
I don't try to Monday morning quarterback any of the reviews I do, and I'll try to be honest with a lot of those things I put up. And you are watching another edition of Blewett Blitz Live, an afternoon edition of Blewett Blitz Live. I've gotten the train where I've been pumping out reviews. I just literally just finished recording a sauce review. Probably going to be about 2 hours. So if my computer starts to freak out a little bit, it's because it's converting a 2-hour video at the same time. So I'm putting a lot of stress on a 10-year-old computer at this point, but just released a Will McDonald review. I think like 10 minutes for the people who don't pay, 2 hours for the people who do. Garrett Wilson review came out about 2 hours as well, and same thing with Aaron Rodgers. You can get like a 6 to 10 minute feel on YouTube, but for the full thing, you gotta be a JetX guy. $5 a month, we'd appreciate it, and I have a lot more coming. Tippmann, Lazard, Warren, Clark, Rodgers again, Izzy, Hardman, Barnes, Jefferson, Converse, Q, Rodgers again, Kuntz, Woods, Cobb, Turner, ABT, Hall, Wilson, Sauce, Rodgers again, Schweitzer, Kajust, and Cologne. I think I'm going to wait for maybe Cologne. I think he's probably the odd man out of the offensive line room right now, just because if you keep him too, that's 12 offensive linemen. That's just quite a few. Even though I did like Cologne more than Schweitzer, but I believe Schweitzer got a 2-year it's like 2 years, $5 million from the Jets, and I think $3.5 million guaranteed. But I'm doing this stream today because, again, I get really obsessive over stuff, and just because of the fact that I started doing reviews, now I want to get them all out immediately. So tomorrow night, now I can record another show, and today I could just do a stream. So it is what it is. I was going to do one alone anyway. So let's discuss a little bit. Let's see who's in here. Eagle Fang says, so I know a lot of people are obviously at work and stuff right now. 2:30 it is what it is. Oh, also other news, sidebar. If you are a podcast listener or you have a Blewett Blitz, if you're subscribed to Blewett Blitz, iTunes, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast listening service is, I've I'm going to be converting all of them going forward to podcasts. So if you're not able to watch the YouTube, it'll be easier for you to just listen in the car, do whatever you got to do. So that's a note as well. So if you could leave 5 stars there, review, that would be great. But I will be starting to post everything to that as well. Eagle Fang, which I don't know who your logo is there. Hopkins did not sound like he wanted the Jets. He did not sound like he wanted the Jets. The interview he did a month ago, and Saleh does not want him either. Yeah, but Saleh also said before the draft that they were happy with the running back room, and we drafted Izzy. And they said that they were happy with the receiver room, and then they were going to bring in Odell Beckham. So are they really happy with the receiving core? I think they're okay with it. I think they're fine with it. But clearly they view themselves as being able to upgrade, even just with the interest in OBJ and the contract offer to OBJ. They have some type of interest in upgrading the receiver core. I'm assuming OBJ wasn't going to be an add and, okay, you're receiver 5. I'm sure it was going to be, okay, OBJ is added and Corey Davis is cut. So I'm not going to take the coach saying that they're not interested or they're happy with your group as them legitimately not being interested, because what are they supposed to say? They're supposed to say, no, I don't like our guys. And, if we could get Hopkins, we'd love to. We really want to get Corey Davis out of here. Like, he's not going to say that. So, yeah, he's going to say pretty easily, I love our group right now. So I could just as easily see the Jets getting Hopkins at this point. It didn't really change my barometer, thinking of the percentage chance of we're going to get Hopkins or not. Justin Jets. And by the way, this show could be short. I don't know how long it's going to be. I have like 3 or 4 things at the top of my head that I could talk about if we don't have topics. this is all you guys. If there is no chat, there is no live stream. So I'm really, really heavily leaning on you guys interacting. I get it. It's 2:40 and there's probably not a lot of people watching at this point because this is not normal time, but I'd appreciate the liveliness in the chat more than ever at this point. Justin Jets, and there's nothing going on, which is probably a reason that film reviews are actually a good time to break or to drop right now. Justin Jets, my guess is the Jets wanted him. They called about him. Agent told them he's not interested. Obviously, on the podium, he's going to say we love the wide receiver room. Yeah. See, okay, so you agree with what I just said. Obviously, you put this in before I even commented on it, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It's typically the betting services are, I don't know how it's some information, but I believe on maybe it's BetMGM, the Jets are second favorite, tied with the Chiefs right now. I think the Cowboys were first. The Jets and the Chiefs are both even at like 350. The Bills were plus 1,000, I think, because money issues. And maybe the Pats were like plus 500 or 600 or something like that. So the Jets are still in the top couple of teams in betting favorite odds to land Hopkins. So I'm not really going to buy anything they say right now. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And we saw that whole video of Hopkins seeming not so interested in the Jets and kind of turning away. But who knows how much he keeps up with the media and all that stuff. Or rumored interest in Rodgers. He didn't know if Rodgers was going to happen. When that interview happened, we had Zach Wilson as our quarterback. Who wants to go play with Zach Wilson? I wouldn't. I could tell you that. So neither did he. Like we don't know. We don't know. And I know that Rodgers wasn't listed in his top 5 quarterbacks to play with. Yeah, sure. He would want to play with the younger guy. He might want to play with Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. I understand that because he's anticipating his career to last another 3, 4, 5 years or whatever it may be. And they're young guys are going to be around for longer. But I'm sure Rodgers wasn't far down that list. I'm sure Rodgers was 7, 8, 9, 10, even if Rodgers was 16. If the Jets are going to pay him, he's going to come here. It's not like we have Zach Wilson. It's not like we have a shitty quarterback situation. I think he'll get over having to settle with Aaron Rodgers if the Jets make him the highest contract offer. Now, how much are you offering? Story for a different day. There was a slightly concerning, I don't know if it's like Albert Breer or whoever it was, who he put out some quotes from like GMs or maybe coaches that kind of question how much longer Hopkins is going to be Hopkins for. And I know that I believe Nani put out an article kind of questioned that a little bit and some of his usage and things like that with Arizona. The thing with Hopkins is he's never really a guy he's not going to win with separation and he's not going to beat you vertically. He's a guy who gets to his spot. He boxes you out. He has one of the best hands you'll ever see. It's like off the top of my head, it's him and Larry Fitz are the best hands I've ever seen. He obviously also has the ability to catch balls outside of his frame and box guys out like Larry Fitzgerald did not have. So yeah, he might not be like dominant Hopkins anymore this year. But with that being said, I believe he was on pace last year for, if he played a whole season, like 90 catches and like 1,400 yards. So he still was playing pretty damn well last year. Now, with that being said, stats versus actual play. How is the process of each of those catches? I don't know. I would have to go back and watch, but I could tell you right now that I'd rather have Hopkins than Corey Davis. And to me, Hopkins is a guy who pushes you to that next level with the receiving core. Right now, our receiving core, it's like, let's say it's solid, slightly above average, maybe average at this point. And there's some receiving cores that we're going up against. The Bengals. The Bengals have Higgins, they have Boyd, they have Jamar Chase. People talk about, oh well, the Chiefs don't have good receivers. Yeah, but they have Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends of all time, and they also have Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you heard of him, and they also have another one of the best of all time in terms of coaches, Andy Reid. So yeah, we might need an extra weapon than the Chiefs do, obviously. So if you really want to propel this offense to a legitimate top 10 lock of an offense, I think you add a guy like Hopkins. And I'm not saying it just has to be Hopkins. There's other guys out there. Why are the Bucs keeping Mike Evans? For what reason? Okay, long term. He's been there for a long term. He's been consistent. 7,000 or 1,000 yard seasons in a row from him, fan favorite, all that. Okay, I get that, but what are they going to do this year? Is Evans going to bring them from 3 wins to 4 wins? So could he be traded in a month or two? You don't know. Could a guy like Devonta Adams be traded? I know that whole thing came out where he was questioning the direction of the franchise, and he came back out and kind of said like, no, basically get alive. Like, I'm here to stay. Whatever, I want to make the Raiders a winner. But then a couple of days later, a week later, news comes out that Jimmy Garoppolo might not even be on the team this year. Like they signed him, he failed the physical, all this stuff. Now they're questioning if he's even going to play for them. So if you have, I have no idea who their backup is. Is it Jarrett Stidham? It's probably Jarrett Stidham. Is Jarrett Stidham going to keep Devontae Adams happy? So could one of those trades happen? I would prefer probably both of those guys. I definitely prefer both of those guys to Hopkins at this point. But I think a big move at the receiving core really propelled this offense to being, again, a top 10 lock. And I think it probably is top 10-ish right now. But it's floating in that range. It's not necessarily a lock to be there. And I think adding one of those guys would do that, because then you have two really, really good receivers. You have a really good running back in Breece Hall. You have solid tight ends. I'll die on the hill that Tyler Conklin's still underrated by fans. So Justin Jets, I like Corey Davis more than most, but D Hop is quite clearly an upgrade. And I like Corey Davis more than most too, Justin Jets. But the problem is people look up stats, and Zach Wilson doesn't get the ball to him a lot, so he doesn't have a lot of stats. And with that, even if you do like his play, how many games can you safely assume he's going to play, right? Like, he's played 34 possible games over the last 2 seasons, and he's played in probably 21 of those. So he's missed quite a bit of games at this point too. So even if it's not as big of an upgrade as some think, at least Hopkins is healthy for the most part, right? I believe. I know even PEDs and suspension and all that stuff, but still. Problem with Hopkins is his suspension can't be ignored in his interview when he snubbed the Jets. Yeah, talked about the interview thing already. And yes, he got caught with PEDs or whatever, diluted sample. Nobody's gonna come out there and be like, yeah, I took roids. So, which could also be another concerning thing, because if you're taking steroids, is that a sign of him noticing himself to start to fall off, and he's taking the steroids to bring himself back to where he was in terms of testosterone and all this stuff and recovery? Potentially. So that's something you have to think about in terms of why did you even take the PEDs? He's never going to admit to that, but yeah. Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's laughable, Eagle, in terms of Saleh saying that we're good with the receivers. He's not. What he's also going to say, he's not going to say no, we're not good with the receivers, and then they're not going. And then if they don't land anybody, what are the receivers going to think? What's up, jealous beanbag 56? The Buffalo Jet fan, haven't heard from Buffalo Jet. I know he got rid of his Twitter, which everybody's been. I've seen people talking on Twitter like, where is Buffalo Jet fan? But he's taking a break from Twitter and only doing the YouTube game. But look forward to talking with Buffalo Jet fan again. I hope you're doing well. I heard you think Guidry is better than Revis. Can you confirm? I don't know if I brought that up last week, actually, the last stream, but they did bring back Guidry, which I do like. Special teamer, a guy who is a good backup slot. Now that leads me to believe that Breece Hall is probably going to get traded, because you have Sauce, you have Reed, you have Michael Carter, you have Eccles. You have Justin Hardy, who, if you're going to assume he's going to be here because of the captainship and all that stuff, and then you have 6th and 7 as Guidry and Hall. Guidry just brought in to be the backup slot potentially. Where does that leave Hall? And the thing with that, if you consider, is Hall is making $2-ish million this year, so you could save some money by getting rid of Hall as well. I like Hall more than most people do. I don't think him getting beat on a play where he had almost perfect coverage against, was it Devin Duvernay in week 1? Does that mean he's a bad player? Does him getting beat by Kyle Pitts in preseason indicate that he's a bad player? No. I still think he's definitely a really good backup to have, but at a certain point, if you can get value for him, he's not providing any value to your team in terms of playing, then turn that into draft capital. Eagle says, Jeff Ulbrich says Clemens is weighing in the 290s now. He's packed on some good weight. Ulbrich said they plan on using him. Yeah. So I just saw this as I was recording the Sauce film breakdown, and I don't mind the move. I really don't. The only thing I'm questioning, or there's a couple things. There's a couple avenues I could take with this one. Clemens, he's not the most athletic guy in the world. Like, he's strong. Yeah, he's like flexible and stuff like that, but he's pretty stiff at the same point. So does adding more mass to him does it really hurt his athleticism where he's really going to struggle to move? Because last year he was 270, 275. So is adding 15 pounds on him make him even more stiff and have less fluidity? I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And then the second thing with this is, since we've drafted McDonald, I've been pretty consistent in saying that I think the only way it makes sense is if you're going to move JFM to the inside more. he's going to take more inside reps on pass rush downs. And then you let, the Lawsons, the JJs, the McDonalds, and the Huffs of the world rush on the edge, which I'd be fine with. And then, Quentin Jefferson's a little bit out of place because he'd be like a backup rusher. Okay, I'm cool with that. But if Clemens is going to do that, then does that mean that JFM is going to just stay to the outside for the most part, which I don't love because I feel like JFM is the best. His most important asset of his game is rushing from the inside on third down. So then he doesn't do that because of Clemens, or is it going to be a thing where Clemens does it sometimes, JFM does it sometimes, And I know Ulbrich said that he's going to, like Eagle said here, D end on rundowns, D tackle on pass. Okay, fine, but it's probably not over Quentin Jefferson, I wouldn't think, on the inside. So he's a D end and a backup rusher on third. Okay, but I just don't think that leaves a lot of room for JFM to play a bunch of reps as well. So my display picture is chosen from Karate Kid 2, Cobra Kai, haha. From Cobra. Oh, that's I don't know if I've ever seen Karate Kid. Maybe I have seen Karate Kid 2, but this is the guy. I've seen Cobra Kai. I watched Cobra Kai, even though admittedly it's super, super cheesy. It's not the best show, but it's like something to watch. You have some dry months where you got to watch and stuff, and it's at least watchable. As long as you go into the show knowing it's going to be corny and it's based on a cheesy, karate movie from the 80s or the 90s, then it's okay. Christian Thompson. What's that? Is that what's his name from Drake and Josh? Okay. I could see Mike Evans being someone who the Jets pursue. Bucks QB situation is awful. Plus, he's only got 1 year left at $14 million. They can cut Corey Davis. It's only a $4 million. Yeah, that dude, I'm so with you. Like Mike Evans would be a home run because he's not so much money. And you could legitimately save that money. All you have to do is cut Corey Davis. So you cut Corey Davis, that's $10.5 million. You cut Ashton Davis, who's not going to make the roster anyway. That's about $2 million. And you trade Breece Hall, and you just got rid of probably 2 players you're going to get rid of anyway. And you switched out, Corey Davis from Mike Evans for what? What is it going to cost you? I don't know, a 4th round pick, a 3rd round pick. Okay, do it. And then next year we're left without picks. I don't give a shit. We have Mike Evans. Then we have a 2 and a 4 next year. It is what it is. 2 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 6 or 7, whatever it is. Steven Engel can't type, delivering the mail. Yeah. Don't crash your truck. I don't know, where do you deliver? I know you're at least from my general area. I don't know where you're at now, though. You've definitely said it before, but I don't know where you're exactly at now or where you deliver mail. But if you're doing it in Middletown, be careful out there. You got some family here. Internet is reporting the Jets now have 24+ million of cap space updated, but Williams and Rodgers' rear contract has not been announced yet. Oh wow, that's weird because if something were to happen with Q, it would be on the transaction wire, right? So they had 18, so they created another $6 million. How? And a lot of people do think that Quinnen Williams, the extension will affect this year. We have $18 million, so how are we even going to sign Q and bring these other guys on? Q getting signed can actually lower his cap hit this year. Like the bigger cap hits take effect in 2024, 2025 because he's already under contract for this year. So the extension takes place after this year. So they can actually lower the cap space in some ways. Again, I'm not a cap guru in any sense of the word. I suck with the cap. But I know that it's not going to affect the cap much, if at all, this season. And it actually can help the cap by signing Quinnen Williams. Now, Rodgers, he's $1.5 million this year and 105 next year. I don't think he's going to stay at 105. I'm assuming some of that moves back over to this year. And I honestly think he takes a little bit of a cap hit or a cap cut. Like, I don't think he's going to take $50 million from the Jets. It might be a little bit less. I know Connor Hughes and some others have indicated that once we see the contract, we're going to be very happy. I both kind of hinting towards both monetarily and the fact that the contract is going to make him seem like he's locked into 2 to 3 years with the Jets. Before, I really thought it was going to be 1 year. Like before getting Rodgers, I was like, this is a 1 year thing. Like, why are we going to do that? Like, there's arguments about the 1 year versus 4 or 5 years with Carr. Now it seems like 2 is a lock. And I would say that 3 years is more likely than 1. But I'm much more comfortable saying it to me at least 2 years at this point. John Hepburn. Hey, fellers, any news on how punter Matt Araiza did? And is the fullback Nick Baldwin going to make this team? Yeah, I don't know how Araiza did, and Kyle and I got into that all last stream. I'm honestly surprised I didn't get a comment talking about how we talked about that, but we're just being honest. Now with Baldwin, this is something that I mentioned before. they do, at least the Titans did like to use fullbacks quite often, at least when I watched them. And now it wasn't a massive sample size just because there's a lot of shit to watch, to be transparent. But when I did watch, it was a lot of 12. It was a lot of 21. There's a lot of H-backs or fullbacks involved in the running game. So you have a run game coordinator coming from a system where they like to use fullbacks. Is a fullback going to make this roster? Now we have to talk about, okay, the D line's going to carry 10 or 11. You're talking about the offensive line carrying at least 10 or 11 at this point. So do you have room to carry Baldwin? Because at that point, you're going to carry. Let's just package him in with the running backs. So you're going to carry 5 running backs, 11 offensive linemen, 11 defensive linemen. You're going to be lacking at some other spots. Like the Jets might have to carry 3 tight ends, only 5 receivers, only 4 or 5 linebackers. So it's interesting with the gymnastics. I think that the Jets are going to try to use guys like Ruckert, guys like Uzama in that role in camp, see if they can fill it. If they can't, then it's going to be Baldwin. But a lot of people kind of overlook Baldwin and in terms of if he's going to make the roster or not, the impact he's going to make on the team. Baldwin might make the roster, which you have to account for in some 53-man roster predictions and things like that, because they're going to use based on their prior histories. They like to use fullbacks. They like to use H-backs, 12 personnel, 21, whatever. They like that role. So who's going to fill that? I know. Chicky Rodriguez. He's trying to figure out. He's trying to figure out to take the money with some scrub squad or chase the ring for way less. Yeah, and the Jets are like, even if the Jets aren't a preferred option for Hopkins, we're not the Chiefs. Yeah, he's not 27 years old, 28 years old, or whatever Josh Allen is. But we're still a good team with Super Bowl hopes, with the elite defense like he wants. So we have a better defense than the Chiefs. We have a better defense than the Bills, in my opinion, probably most of your guys' opinions. I think it's, you can argue some stuff with the Bills, but overall, I still think we're a better group, better defense. Yeah, older quarterback, but even look at the running game. I would say we have a better running back core than the Bills do. Tight end. We can argue the entire roster, but I think that the Jets are kind of like that happy medium. We can offer you money, and we're pretty damn good at the same time. But yeah, the quarterback's not 27. He's 38, right? So Jordan Whitehead took the restructure, saving the Jets over $5 million. Breaking news. Yeah, thank you, Eagle, for putting that out there, because I obviously can't. Well, I can look at my phone, but not really at this point. So he restructured from he was owed $10.5 million to $5 million. I feel like he's worth about $5 million. So this really leads me to believe that the Jets are not going to bring back Quan Alexander, and it's most likely going to be, like I've been saying for months at this point, it's going to be Whitehead / Clark in a hybrid strong safety linebacker role, where one of them is going to be the strong safety. I'm assuming it's Whitehead, and Clark is going to play sometimes strong safety, but he's also, and I'll break it down for you guys in a couple of weeks in Clark's play, he's actually very good in a linebacker role. They can hook zones, hook the curls, things like that. He's very, very good there. So I think the Jets are going to play him in that Quan role. And yeah, while they might be sacrificing a little bit in the ground game or in the run game in that instance, because Quan's 230, 235, and Clark is 205 or something like that. So they might lack a little bit there. But also you have to think about, with that being said, the Jets are not going to be playing teams that are going to run the ball as much this year. Teams are going to pass the ball more this year. Why? Because the Jets are going to put up some points, and the teams are going to have to match them. So I understand getting lighter. The fact that it's $5 million. Now, is it a restructure or is it a cap cut? That's my question. I want to know. I want to know if it were to be. Yeah. Sorry. Can you? I don't know if you can drop it. If somebody can drop it. Is it a restructure or is it a cap cut? Because restructures and cap cuts are different. Like Lawson took a cut. Did Whitehead just push money to the future, or did he realize, hey, I probably shouldn't be making $10.5 million? Obviously, I do, but if I want to stay here, I'm not. And even like at a certain point, yeah, the Jets cut him. They saved $7.5 million on him. And what is he going to get in free agency? 4, maybe 5 at best. At the very best, he's getting that. So kind of had to restructure. Just probably like, listen, dude, we're going to cut you. Torch Live. With the Whitehead restructure, would you want Hopkins or a guy like it's so? To me, I'm almost 50-50 in Hopkins versus a most likely to be Byard over Baker. I think that the Cardinals want some guys to build around. Byard's a little bit older, 30, 31 years old, still a really good player. So I think Byard is more likely for the Jets. I understand that the upgrade from what we have at free safety to Byard to Byard right now is a bigger upgrade on the team than what Hopkins is to Corey Davis. But with that also being said, you're multiplying the upgrade of Hopkins with Rodgers, if that makes sense. So I would like to load up on offense more because that's really what wins you games. Because I think at the end of the day, you could sign a John Johnson for $3 or $4 million, the money you just got from Whitehead, and then that position will at least be solid, decent, because just a decent free safety is a massive upgrade from the shit that LaMarcus Joyner did last year. So I'm kind of straddling the line there. But if it was Hopkins or Byard, I would probably say Byard. Like that's what I'm thinking right now. But if you're talking about Evans or Devontae Adams, then I'm going that way. It's just Hopkins might he might turn some people off with like his attitude and some of the stuff he does. Just give me 2 seconds here because I'm actually going to put up my I'm uploading my video of the review I just did, so I'm kind of editing that at the same time as I'm talking to you guys. So just give me 2 seconds of kind of rambling a little bit. Sauce review part 1 in quotes or parentheses. I mean, there we go. All right, and then as I'm going through this, I'll upload it as you guys hopefully don't notice. Torch Lives. What do we want to do with the D-line rotations? There is so much talent. Same with receivers. If we get a stud, how the rotations work. So the D-line, I talked about it. I really like them to move JFM to the inside. And realistically, how does it make sense? I don't think I can make it make sense because they love their D-line rotations. But something we've spoke about in recent weeks is at a certain point, are you investing too much capital into low snap percentage? I understand wanting guys to be rested and all that stuff, but he was making $25 million to play some games last year were 60, 61, 62, 63% of the snaps, where other guys who are getting paid that money are playing 70, 75, 80. Okay, so where is that 15%? And then you draft a guy like JJ, who is a first-round pick. You're assuming you want him to play at least 50, 60. He played about 30. You paid a guy in Huff some money. He got about 17% of the snaps last year. Clemens got about 27 as well. JFM was floating around the high 50s to low 60s. Some games I think were 49, 50. So you're paying a guy $14 million to take 50% of the reps. So there's not a way I can make it make sense in my philosophies. I disagree with how much they've poured into the defensive line at this point. Now I understand. Okay, you want to draft the best player available, and they're the best player available. And when he steps in next year for Lawson, who may be gone or Huff, and he's dominating, then who cares? And I completely get that. But I'm just saying for this year, it's hard for it to make sense because you already had guys again like JJ at 30-ish% and Clemens at 30-ish% and Q again lower than what he should be, and JFM lower than he should be, Huff lower than he should be. Now, hey, we're also throwing in another first-round pick in McDonald, so all those guys are going to go down. So they're all going to play less snaps than their money indicates, or not their money, their money or the capital invested to get them, whether it be money or pick wise. They're never going to necessarily maybe justify it, if you feel what I'm saying. So how does it work? I'm not sure how they make the D line work. I think one of Huff or McDonald are going to be rushing on pretty much every single third down. I don't see them on the field all the time together. I think the only time you're going to see them on the field together is if the Jets are going to try to isolate them as both nines, and then you're going to run some twists and stunts with maybe an extra blitz around the inside. So maybe like more like fire zone type of stuff where you're going to have less guys in coverage. But if you're going to go 2 on the outside, isolate the inside, run twists and stunts, and with an extra blitzer, whether it be a safety, Mosley, whoever it may be, and you have 3 versus 3 there with movement, it's going to be really hard to block that up. So I can see that being the situation. But for the most part, I see it being one of Huff or McDonald, and then along with Lawson on the outside on third down rotations. But then where does that leave JFM? Because Lawson's a better rusher on the outside than JFM. You're assuming that I would say that JFM's probably better right now than McDonald. Maybe not Huff, but then what are they here for? So where does JFM fit into this? Is he going to play more inside? He plays more inside. Okay, then Clemens does. He's just a backup at all positions, which mostly he is. But then where does Quentin Jefferson fit? So you have Clemens and Jefferson, who are like the third and fourth string edge or a defensive tackle rushers. Like there's a lot of bodies there. It's really, really hard to make it make sense. Receivers, how the rotations work. If we get a stud, Davis is gone. I severely doubt that Davis and or Lazard are both making around $10, $11 million. I think Lazard is exactly 11. I think Corey Davis is 10.5. They are not going to have a wide receiver 4 making $10.5 million. It's just not going to happen. So he would be gone. And then let's just say it's Evans. It's obviously going to be, Garrett, Evans, or whoever it's going to be there. Lazard is the 3, Hardman's the 4, and the 5 is Cobb. And I think that's probably all they carry. I don't think they carry 6 receivers. I just don't think they can. Baldwin question before, all the offensive linemen, all the defensive linemen we're talking about. I don't see they can justify keeping a guy like Mims on the roster at this point. Did you see the comments Salah said on Brown today? Yeah, so it's funny because I wrote down some topics, and literally the first couple you guys already brought up, which I love. I brought up Hopkins. I brought up Adams, Evans. Talked about Salah and receiving core. Had that written down. Delete. I also had this one where he said, I don't know if this is verbatim, but this is basically the quote, loosely quoting him, saying he doesn't believe he's entitled to anything in terms of Robert. And this is from Robert Salah on Dwayne Brown. And seems like I want to see how the question was exactly asked for that quote, but you have to feel like that's a shot at Becton, right? Like, you have a guy who's he's in his 4th year, who's been fat and overweight and been often injured. He's bitching about a spot and saying, I am a left tackle, I deserve to play left tackle, oh, blah, 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 blah. And you have a guy in Dwayne Brown who's played in the league since 2008, I believe, or 9. So he's been in the league for like 13, 14 years, maybe even 12 or 11, whatever it is. It's about 11. Let's say it's 11 or 12. Who's played left tackle the entire time, who last year signed with the Jets, tore his rotator cuff, could have sat down the whole season and said, no, fuck that, I'm a competitor, I want to play, played, won an award, and now he's saying that he doesn't feel he's entitled to anything. It's just it's a shot at Becton. It is a shot at Becton. It definitely is. You have that guy who's been an ultimate pro for 14 years, not bitching about anything, and you have Becton who's barely earned anything in the league, and he's saying he deserves to be something that he might not be, and he's probably not going to be. He's going to be the right tackle, and he's not helping himself with the coaching. There's no way. And talking about Salah quotes, I guess I can just bring this up now. He also said that. This is talking about Mims and me doubting Mims to make the roster. But he said on Mims, he's competing his butt off. He has a chance to make the roster. That is quite the endorsement. Mims has a chance to make this roster. Good luck, Mims, because you're not making it. I really I think Hall is traded. I think Mims is traded by the end of the offseason. There's no way they're carrying 6. I can't see it. Mims has no special teams value. I think there's a better chance that a guy like who's the UDFA that everybody likes? The Brownlee. I think there's a better chance that Brownlee makes the roster over Mims. I think Mims is gone. I really do. They'll showcase him in the preseason, hope he balls, and they'll trade him. Verge Tibbs, what's up, Joe? And everyone, nice early show. Surprise running generators at work, so I can somewhat listen for a bit. Yes, again, it's a little bit early. I was going to do a stream by myself anyway, and doing it today now allows me to do another show tomorrow. In terms of a film show. So I'm just in that mode where it's like OCD. I got to get this, or ADD, whatever you want to call it, where I get this shit out ASAP. It's like, screw it. I'm just going to do a show today. So we're doing a show today. Well, early stream. What's up, Mike? Eagle Fang, insane looking at the cap numbers. The Panthers have over 52 million in dead cap. I'm assuming that's from Moore and CMC this year. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they have so much. They're in a shitty spot though. I think they have downgraded the roster. Obviously, you lose your top 2 weapons in CMC and DJ Moore. You bring in Bryce Young, so that's going to be a tough year for the Panthers down there this year. Any concern with someone? Yeah, so Virgil, I don't know what the contract restructure looks like for Whitehead. Now, is it slightly concerning that a lot of money is getting pushed into the future? Sure, but it's not so much, right? Like Laken Tomlinson pushed some. I think Uzama and Conklin did, but not so much. You have Mosley who did. So yeah, they're going to have a down year or two after Rodgers leaves. But in 2020, as long as Rodgers here, I'm not worried about it. And I don't think they're ever going to be as bad as the Saints or something like that, who are still, they're at least a competitive team this year. So yeah, they might take a hit for a year or two after, but it's not going to affect us so much. I don't think. Who's a June 1st cut that can interest JD? I honestly don't know, Kev. If I really went through teams and like looked, I could think, but that would take me quite a bit to go through all the depth charts and things like that. I'm pretty sure Saleh ended up. Yeah, but again, if you believe what JD, if you believe what they say, Jamal Adams is still a Jet. We didn't draft Izzy because they love the running back room. Like they're not going to say that they don't like a room that they currently have because they may be stuck with that room. I think they're okay with it. I just don't think they love it. I don't think they love the room that they have right now. Whitehead contract was a restructure, and the Jets gave $5.3 million this year, and the Jets Central reported. Yeah. Okay. Did you like quote tweet? Is there like, do you have like rap or rap or Schefter or something like that? I would like to see how it's actually restructuring. Like, why are we going to push money for Jordan Whitehead down the line? Like, Jordan Whitehead doesn't deserve the 7.5 that was the cap savings if you were to cut him. Like, just get rid of him. Why are we trying to push money around for Jordan Whitehead? He's just not a good player. Happy 80th birthday to Joe Namath, the greatest Jet of all time. Happy birthday. Most impactful, I would say the best Jet as a player is Revis. I think Revis is the best player we've ever had on the team. Joe Namath is the most impactful in terms of the Jets organization, but Revis is better than him. Connor Hughes, Jeff Ulbrich says, yeah, I talked about this a little bit before, Kev. I appreciate putting him there in general. Yeah, see, Eagle beat me. They converted non-guaranteed base salary into signing bonus. Yeah, that's it. So, and really, all that does is you push some more money into this year. So you give him, let's just say, that $5 million, but instead of it hitting the cap this year, now it's going to hit them some in 2024, 2025. I don't understand. Pick one. So, Bus, my question is with this is this in a vacuum? Is this all things being equal, or am I factoring in trade compensation to get these guys? Because then it becomes a different situation. Just ranking them here, it's going to be, let's see. I'm going to go Adams 1, Godwin 2. And I know Godwin might have lost step last year, but he's coming off that injury and he's still young, so he could be here for years. Even though I like Hopkins, maybe not better this year. And Evans is probably a better player this year, but Godwin's a little bit longer of a term guy. So Adams is just the peak of the peak. I know he's only a year or two thing, but still, like, Adams, Godwin, Evans, D-Hop, Ayuk, Judy, Pittman. But why would I don't think the Niners are going to trade Ayuk. Why would they do that? Ayuk is one of the more underrated receivers in the NFL. He's actually pretty damn good from what I've seen when I watched him sparingly. I like him a lot, so I don't think he's realistic. But I would definitely say Adams, Godwin, Evans, Hopkins, probably Pittman. Maybe Pittman next because he's been healthier, I believe, than both Sutton and Judy, and then probably Sutton, then Judy. That's about it. But in terms of trade compensation, looks like at the end of the day, yeah, you want to save some stuff, and Adams is going to cost us more than it would trade for Evans, but Adams is still a top 5 receiver in the NFL, and we're trying to win the Super Bowl, so let's not, for lack of a better term, pussyfoot it. Let's go all in. I'm cool with that. So Adams, Mims has no value. Period. It's sad he became a bust. But it is what I'm very, very confident he's not going to be on the Jets next year. I just can't see him getting kept with all the offensive linemen, all the defensive linemen, all these guys we have to carry. So Becton should be traded if he can lift his value from Kevchada. No way he wants to stay here after the medical malpractice treatment. Yeah, the thing with that, Kev, is though, like, again, we got Becton's side. We didn't get Saleh's side or the coaching staff side, and we didn't get the truth. So they could have one, who did he bring up the knee injury to? Was it a position coach? Was it a guy on the sideline? Was it Saleh? Was it the medical staff? And with that, the Jets could have looked at the injury and they could have told the doctors, "Hey, is he healthy enough to play through this? Like, is he just fat and he's just out of shape right now, and that's why his knee's not handling it well?" Like, we don't really know what happened because they could just see him as being out of shape and he's laboring out there because he's fat right now. Or it could have been a thing where if Becton is right, that legitimately happened, then that's obviously screwed up. But we don't really know. Like, I'm not just taking Becton's word for anything at this point. So what really happened? Did he just want to play left tackle? Didn't feel like he was a right tackle, and then again they just thought he was fat. I don't know. So spin max Dave, up so let's look at the free agent quarterbacks right now, because this is one of the things where I want a stud receiver to add alongside Garrett Wilson. I want a safety. I want a line. Obviously, the linebacker's not happening now because that's pretty much Clark, I guess. I want some of those things, but underratedly, not a lot of people are talking. Actually, I guess some people are talking about, but we need a quarterback. We need a backup quarterback. Like I know Zach Wilson had a good practice the first day, but then this day you heard he played bad. He overthrew Ruckert in the seam and all that stuff. The typical argument is because it's always 100 miles per hour or 0 miles per hour, but they're somewhere in the middle. Yes, if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt the entire year, we're fucked. I get that. But on the other opposite side of the spectrum, let's go completely the opposite, right? So we went from Rodgers missing the entire year to there's 2 minutes left in the Super Bowl, and Rodgers just hurt his leg. He just broke his leg. He can't come back into the game. We have one drive to win the game. Do you trust Zach Wilson? Because I don't. Obviously, I'm not going to trust any of these free agents, but do I trust Matt Ryan more than Zach Wilson at this point? Yes, I do. Do I trust Teddy Bridgewater more than Zach Wilson at this point? Yes, I do. Do I trust Nick Foles at this point over Zach Wilson? Yes, I do. Do I trust Chase Daniel over Zach Wilson at this point with really no information to base that off of? Yes, I do. So I think it's very, very necessary to get another backup quarterback. Now, why haven't they done it yet? I don't know, but you cannot tell me. I get Teddy Bridgewater has dipped the last couple of years, but every single person who listens to this podcast is a complete freaking liar if they don't say they have more faith in Teddy Bridgewater to lead a drive over Zach Wilson. You're just lying. You're lying. So give me Teddy. I would love Teddy. Joe Douglas is just like me. I love my ex-girlfriend. I also said she would have a home in my heart, but I liked my new one better. I'm trying to think what that's in relation to. I love my ex-girlfriend, but else, I don't know what's in relation to, but I appreciate the humor nonetheless. Verge Tibbs, I thought I saw 3 to 4 void years added onto Whitehead, but I'm not positive. Don't like it. If it's 3 to 4 void years for $5 million, and we're talking about $1.3 million a year, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Regardless, I don't like moving money around for a player who doesn't deserve the money he's getting. Like you had a pretty easy out. Listen, you saved $7.5 million, right, with Whitehead, and I don't think I'm being dramatic here, or I'm not like underestimating prices. You get John Johnson for $3 million or $4 million. You get Quan for $3.5 million, which is like a 300% raise from last year, or something like that, maybe 200% raise, but still. And then for the price of Whitehead, you just upgraded at safety and you upgraded at linebacker. Like I don't get the Whitehead love. I really don't. I guess did you guys hear he's Darrelle Revis' cousin? He was there and he got drafted. Cool. He's not a good football player. Sorry. At least he wasn't last year. Try to be it is what it is. Chicky. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Supplemental pick cycles need to start next year. Could be why on the restructure for Whitehead. I don't think that anything with Whitehead would affect it at this point. There's nothing. We're past the point where comp picks matter with signings and things like that. So I don't think that has to do with anything, to be honest. But I think the Jets are already projected like a 5th and a 6th or something like that for comp picks next year. But Whitehead cutting him right now wouldn't do anything to that. Unless you're talking about getting rid of him next year and then he counts towards it. If that's what you're talking about, but we're trying to big brain that too much at that point. With Quinn Williams contract talks, is this about years and if? Yeah, Eagle, you were here last week, right? Like we talked about this last week. I know you listened. We've been saying this for weeks now. It's literally based on Quinn Williams liked the tweet indicating that's about years and not about the money. So long story short, we talked about it for almost 30 minutes last stream was the Jets could want Quinn Williams at 5 years. Q wants 4 years because most guys are getting 4 years and he's 25 right now. He'd rather try free agency again at 28, 29 years old instead of 30 years old because obviously every extra year people are going to question, age and all that stuff. So it could be a situation where the Jets want 5. It could be a situation where the Jets want 4 and he wants 3. I can I 1,000% understand him wanting to do a 3-year deal, 28 years old, splash again 3 years, and at 31 years old, he could still get a relatively big contract, so he could be trying to splash. Now, I don't know if it's, if the Jets want 4 or 5, or if he wants 3 or 4, and it could be a situation. Let's just lock it down to 3, just for simplicity's sake. He wants 3 years because he wants to splash again at 28, right? So he's okay with 3 years, $75 million. Let's just say $50 million guaranteed again for simplicity. If they want 4 years, Q may say, hey, I'm happy with 25 at 3 because I know I'm going to splash again. If you want me for 4 years, because obviously prices are going to keep going up for D tackles, and in 4 years, he's going to be the 5th or 6th or 7th highest paid D tackle in the league or something like that. Again, guesstimation. He might say, okay, I'll do 4 years, but give me $27 million a year. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I do think it's over years. And again, Q legitimately like the tweet saying it's not about the price, it's about the years. So that's the biggest tip off ever. That it's about that. He literally liked something. Yeah. Zach can't be the best. I'm completely with you there, Kev. He cannot. There's absolutely no way. Reality check, Zach Wilson is the biggest bust in team history. He's the same class as Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell. If you saw the Jags game last season, you understand it's over for Zach of the Jet. Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm not going to say, I don't know, the biggest bust in team history. Yeah, he's definitely one of them. I would say out of all the quarterbacks we've drafted over the last couple of years, he's a bigger again. And people are going to defend him because he's still on the Jets. So talk shit about him as soon as he's off. It's just you're going to defend the guys that are on the team. He's a bigger bust at this point than Sanchez, right? He's a bigger bust at this point than Geno. He's a bigger bust at this point than Sam Darnold. Like Sam Darnold was throwing to Andre Roberts and shit. Like at least Zach Wilson had some talent to work with. Now in team history, I guess you can argue Vernon. Like at the end of the day, Vernon Golson never got a sack, which is pretty bad for an edge rusher. You have Christian Hackenberg, who was a second-round pick and legitimately did not see a snap in an NFL game for the Jets. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen. So I think you can argue one of those guys over him, but whatever. He's the top 3 at the minimum. I get he's a quarterback too, so it's more impactful, etc. But yeah, no, he's been historically bad. It's not oh, he's just been slightly disappointing. He is up there with the Leafs and Jamarcus Russells in terms of stats and things like that. So it's been bad. It's been really bad. Just Davis Adams comment. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah. There are some really stupid sites out there. I'm sorry, it just is what it is. But Jimmy G to back up Rodgers. Like, what are we gonna pay Jimmy G? We're gonna pay Jimmy G $15 million to back up Rodgers. Like, where are we getting this money? That's just too much. Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy B is what I want. I'll be ecstatic with Teddy B. I would like to go back and watch him over the past couple of years and see how much he's actually dropped off. But I think that's the best option, at this current moment. Sorry, kill Spider. Do you see what's going on with Jimmy G and the Raiders? Yeah. If Joey Logo signed him in the offseason, there'd be a lot more noise in the mainstream media than there is right now about the Raiders. And obviously we follow more Jet-centric stuff. So when you go onto your For You or whatever on Twitter, it's going to be Jets stuff. So we don't see as much Raiders criticism. But with that being said, I would still definitely see more of it if it was the Jets, not the Raiders. That's an all-time wonder. Do you think Joe Douglas is too wedded to his prior picks signings? Weeded? Like, is he too attached to them? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, a little. I'm trying to think, like in reference to who exactly? Whitehead? Yeah, I think Whitehead's probably a good example of that. Past Whitehead, who are we really talking about? Who was he like really attached to other than that? You say Laken Tomlinson, but Laken Tomlinson, like there was no way to get rid of him this year. So, yeah, I don't know. Bring some examples. Maybe you have some examples off the top of your head that I can't think of in the current moment. So, bingo. Not sure what that was about. Trey Lance is taking number one snaps over Sam Darnold, another Jets. But it's crazy. Trey Lance has played like 2 football games in like 45 years. I don't see that working out. If that was a Jets situation, you can talk about that a lot more too, right? Like Trey Lance has played 2-3 games in 3 years for them. Nobody talks about it, really. So, I have to do something really, really quickly. I'm only at 48 people, so I'm assuming at least like 5 or 6 or 10 of you are gonna drop off. I'll be back in legitimately 45 seconds. If you guys can just give me that time, I appreciate it. Hold on. All right, sorry, I had to write a check real quick. So Zach had trash OC. Like, yeah, LaFleur was bad, but Darnold was also working with trash OCs, trash offensive lines, trash receivers, trash tight ends, trash defenses. Zach Wilson had a top 5 defense, some decent skill positions. The offensive line was banged up quite a bit last year. A decent running game to start the year, and he's still not good. I get that Zach Wilson wasn't the most ideal spot, but let's not compare his situation to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's was 10 times worse. Sam Darnold was working with Adam Gase, and there was quite literally games where he was throwing the guys without receptions, like multiple guys without receptions who were just picked up a couple of days ago. He was throwing, what's that? Rashard Matthews and Andre Roberts, Chad Hansen, maybe David Nelson was that was like Geno maybe, but yeah, he's Darnold had a lot worse. You put Darnold in if Darnold and Zach changed spots, and Darnold was drafted to the 2020 Jets, Darnold has more success than Zach does. Here, he did have more success than that Zach did with a worse team and a worse OC and a worse head coach. We're talking about Adam Gase. We're talking about one of the biggest bust coaches of all time. So Spin Max Dave, what's up? And we have a Super Bowl roster assembled by a Super Bowl GM. Do we have a Super Bowl head coach? Yeah, it's undecided. There's some things that we got to see from him. I thought he improved with like game management and stuff last year and timeouts. Yeah, he was actually pretty successful in going for it on 4th down and things like that. The two things that I think need to change, no matter what the situation, really is the receiver rotations, where you can't just run full receiver rotations, and even more so with the defensive line. There's legitimately reps last year where it's 3rd and 1, or got to have it situations. And you have Quinnen Williams, JFM, Lawson on the bench, and you have guys out there like it was like Jacob Martin, Michael Clemens, and Nathan Shepard, and Solomon Thomas on a gotta have it down. It's like he has to start substituting guys in just 1 for 1 instead of whole rotations. It just does not make sense. So he needs to change that. I don't think he's a bad head coach, but he definitely needs to change some things. I'm not going to say the Super Bowl head coach. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say our Super Bowl. We have a chance to make the Super Bowl. I think we need to make one big move to really push ourselves up there. Like, you have the Chiefs, the Bengals, I think at the top of the AFC right now, and I think we're a slight step below those guys. If we make a bigger move for a Bayard or a Hopkins, we're there. We're there with them. I think we're already above the Bills, but I think it's Chiefs, Bengals, us and the Bills, and maybe some other teams like right there below them. But I think that'll propel us up to their level, up to the Eagles level. And we already, I think the Niners are a great roster. They don't have a quarterback. So I think that would legitimately make us a top 3 to 4 team in the NFL. Well, right now, maybe you can argue 5, 6, 7, whatever it may be. So, getting into semantics over a Super Bowl roster and a Super Bowl GM. Yeah, I like a lot of the process of what Joe Douglas has done in his last couple of years. Now, there's a couple of things I'll have gripes with. Him not bringing a vet quarterback to mentor Zach Wilson in year 1's a problem. Bringing in a rookie OC with a rookie head coach with a rookie quarterback is not necessarily always the most ideal situation. And then with that being said, something I blasted Douglas for in his first year with Zach Wilson was you have a rookie OC who likes to target tight ends or likes to get tight ends involved, and we didn't have a tight end. Like, his number 1 tight end was talking about what? Ryan Griffin and Tyler Kroft in year 1. Was that it? Somebody tell me the tight ends where the Jets had it in Zach Wilson's first year. I think it might have been Tyler Kroft and what's his face? Like, that's so bad. So bad. No point, keep Zach and get Teddy. No point, keep Zach and get Teddy. Oh, you're talking about like get both? Yeah, listen, like now roster gymnastics with a 53 carrying 3 is not ideal, but I can understand maybe not carrying a Bawden or a Mims because you want to see Zach for next year, maybe get some trade capital. But I'm not comfortable with I don't even know the guy's name was our back. I forget his name off the top of my head. You guys know. You guys will say in a second. I usually know it, but brain fart. I've been talking for 4 hours or whatever it's been. So if the Jets name is Zach, backup Zach should be gone. Yeah, I think they're keeping Zach more to hopefully showcase him in the preseason and get a trade capital for him. So you were saying if you're getting Teddy, then there's no point in keeping Zach, which for the most part I agree, but I think it's more trying to recoup some value for him. If you can show out in the preseason, listen, if you can get a 5th or a 6th round pick for Cashman, if you can get a 5th or a 6th round pick, or was it a 4th? Was it a 4th and a 4th for Herndon and a 6th? I think that's what it was, but still, like, you can get something there. So current backup quarterback question is the same one as we had to start. Yeah. See, Kev, you were here for that. That was a problem year one. It's a problem. They need to put more into backup quarterback. It's one of the most important positions on the team. It legitimately is. How many Pro Bowlers will the Jets have this year? Wow. I love it, Eel. One, I love the fact that I asked for some more activity in the chat, and you've definitely been asking questions, so I appreciate you for doing that. Pro Bowlers. Ooh. Okay, so ABT, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Quinn Williams. I could maybe see CJ Mosley. That's kind of teetering, so let's not take that one. Sauce, DJ Reed, or Mosley. I'm gonna say 7. I'm gonna say they have 7, and one of them being Mosley or Reed. So I would say 6 or 7. What they should have. And Aaron Rodgers raises the ceiling of everybody, because guess what? People who are voting for Pro Bowls, what are those people watching? They're watching Monday Night Football. They're watching Thursday Night Football. They're watching Sunday Night Football. They're watching the primetime big games. Guess who hasn't had a lot of those games the last couple of years? So combined with the NFL, Lance hasn't played like. Come on, with the NFL. Yeah, no, I don't think it's 9 or 10 busts really, and even at because of the whole COVID stuff, I'm pretty sure at what college did he go to? I forget what college. Was it North Dakota or something? Whatever college he went to, he only played in like very minimal games. Let's say Trey Lance games played. It'll probably just pop up like right away, because it's in the NFL he's played 8 games in 3 years, and then in college, let's see, college game log. Let's say so we have. Did I say 8? College game log. Let's see. So past that, he has played in, his college career, right? So it started in 2018. He played in 2 games in 2018. He had 1 pass attempt. Okay. 2019 comes. He plays in 16 games, a normal season. He throws the ball 287 times. All right, normal year. 2020, he played in 1 game with 30 attempts. So he's barely seen the field the last 6 years. It's like under 10 games. So it was like 9 true total games he's played, maybe 10 in 6 years. Jets were getting absolutely destroyed if that was the case. Joe can handle 1 and 2 in 45 seconds. No. I'm a typically quick pooper, not 45 seconds though. I had to write a check for somebody. I hope Aaron Rodgers makes the Pro Bowl. I think it's been since 1999. Vinny Testaverde. Was it? Did Favre? I'm assuming Favre didn't make it in 08. And 99, I was 6, so I don't really remember so much, obviously, of that year. Do you think I answered this question before? Oh, okay. So you put these guys in here. Wilson, he's coming off of him after 2 years, so I don't think Wilson's too early. Whitehead, I would agree. I don't see Quincy being a mistake. Quincy was a good move by JD. He picked him up off the scrap heap, and now he's making a middle tier linebacker contract for what's probably I think he may be over. So I would take Quincy out of this. Maybe he overpaid a little bit. I'd agree with that, NJZ. I would probably take Wilson out of this question as well. Whitehead, okay, I agree with that. Another one that I think that maybe it's like one of his guys, even though Barrios wasn't one of his guys though, right? Because he was here before Joe Douglas, but that was a bad move. So Barrios was a bad move in terms of the contract he got. Whitehead was a bad move from the contract he got right off the jump. And you go back and watch that review of Whitehead for me last year, and I said this is not who you think he is. So it's not me being negative. I just watched him and said he's not good, and I put up 2-hour reviews to prove my points. So Whitehead, yeah, okay, that's a bad move now. And this year he followed up by restructuring it, which I don't necessarily love. Lawson, I don't really agree, because Lawson is If he was making his full $15 million, I would understand more of that argument, but he's making it's $9 million, right? Not $8 million. I believe it's $9 million with $3 million in incentives. So for a guy in Lawson making $12 million max, and he could easily still get you, upper tier numbers in terms of pressures and a good 6, 7, 8 sacks a year. I think that's a good price for Lawson. So I don't think Lawson's overpaid at this point. And the thing to be considered with Lawson, which we've already mentioned, is Lawson was coming off of an Achilles tear, and then he re-injured it in the offseason and then still played through the injury. So you already have guys who come back slower after ACLs and Achilles the first year. The second year, it's always better. And then you combine that with the fact that he had a setback with that injury. So Lawson's going to be a better player in 23 than he was in 22. I can almost guarantee that. And he's taking only $9 to $12 million a year. I think that's actually a really good move. Quincy's a good move. Whitehead, okay, I see it. Barrios, he got overpaid, but he's not like a Douglas guy who he's too wedded to his prior picks and signings, because Barrios wasn't one of his picks or signings, and he actually cut Barrios, so it's not really even part of the equation. So I would say no overall. Gangrene 44, hey Joe from Alaska. Interesting. I have a cousin. I don't really talk to that much anymore, but or second cousin, whatever he is. He's in the military, and he's actually stationed out in Alaska. I would love to visit Alaska sometimes, though, for sure. I know it's not what people think it is. Like you have some more like towns and stuff than something it is. Every place has towns. Like when I went to India, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a ghost town." It's like a freaking city. So, I don't see that. Yeah. So you're talking about Salah and it'd be really hard for me to pull out examples out of my head right now, just because of all the information that's entered it past those occurrences. Are you talking about that the last game of the Dolphins? So the last game of the Dolphins is funny. That's the only game I haven't watched on film in years. Like I watched it only on broadcast because I was away, and I came back and just watched it because I have to watch a game, but I didn't break it down. And there was also the problem with what game was that the Lions game with the later timeout? Like, yeah, there were some problems, but it wasn't as much in 2022. I'm not saying he had perfect clock management. No way. But he definitely improved at the minimum. And I'm sure there's if you literally just type in 4th down Salah Jets X Factor, I'm sure you'll find an article. I know we put up an article about like 4th down success rates and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure he was good in terms of that stuff, or at least an improvement. So Carmelo, as long as we don't see Streveler this year, we should be fine. Again, Zach Wilson, the do or die situation, if Rodgers goes down, you might want Streveler, because at least Streveler moved the ball in that Jags game. Like right now, legitimately, you had to bet your life on getting points on a drive from the 20, from our 20, Streveler or Zach Wilson. maybe Streveler can break one. Zach Wilson, he's really, really lost it. Nick Bawden is a better athlete than most think. He was a quarterback in college, great mind, and he is jacked 6'2", 250, but I still believe Ruckert would be our full. Yeah, so I think that Bawden can fill that role well, and I actually like Bawden when he plays, but at a certain point, Ali, like I agree with you, you're gonna have to make some difficult cuts. And can you carry 11 offensive linemen, 10 or 11 defensive linemen, 5 running backs? I'm counting a fullback as a running back. I just don't see how they fit all of those guys. So he might have to be cut. The thing about it is, like, I think Ruckert's a guy who he can get like positional leverage. Like if you're running a crack toss or a wide zone, you're just asking to get in front of a guy, okay, sure. But if you're running ISO or inside zone lead or counter power, and he really has to like kick a guy out or really like drive a guy, I don't know how much he's going to do that. So fit in a really horizontal movement centric type of offense as a fullback in terms of Ruckert. But when you want to go more inside and stuff, I don't know if he's going to really be popping guys and moving them. It's going to be more like pop blocking, where he pops them initially, they shed it, and then they're back on the play. So we'll see. That's one of the more, I think that's probably the most underrated storyline that I'm personally watching for. I've been bringing up for quite a while now. I really haven't heard anybody else bring it up, but there's a chance that Baldwin makes a roster, and I'll be watching for it. I think Baldwin actually, people are saying they're impressed with him today, but again, it's beat writers and how much you trust them. I don't, but Eagle says, I've been debating with this with some of my Jet buddies. Jet's going to have a playoff mandate, I'm assuming, right? I'm not even thinking about this, Eagle. Yeah, it's a mandate, dude. Like at the end of the day, they were 5-2 last year, and then they were 6-3. I would say 5-2 is a better chance to make the playoffs than 6-3. They missed, obviously, large part due to Zach Wilson. But now you just added Aaron Rodgers to that roster, and what, you're going to win 9 games and miss the playoffs? The thing with that, though, is if Rodgers is committed for 2 years, do you get rid of? You're not going to get rid of Saleh. What are you going to get rid of Saleh and promote Hackett to head coach? Like, I just don't see them doing it because I think they would run it back with Rodgers. But yeah, if you don't make substantial noise with Rodgers, there's going to be a head or two to roll. And I think it'd definitely be Saleh before Douglas. Again, Douglas, you can argue a lot of things, and people will argue the Zach Wilson thing, which I think is bullshit. I think that's more arguing results versus the process. I don't think the process was bad in acquiring him with the number 2 overall pick. Now, obviously, everything that followed was kind of bad. Again, mostly due to him, and some due to the Jets coaches and what they surrounded him with. But I still like Douglas a lot. Like, look, at the end of the day, yeah, he's made a bad move or two, but offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, he's built quite a good roster. Jets had tight ends that could be XFL fillers. That's how bad they were. So that was let's say 2020, right? Was the year he was drafted. 2020 Jets roster. I think it was Croft and Griffin were the 1 and 2, which is just a joke. Oh, so that wasn't Adam Gase. Oh, sorry, it was 21. That was stupid. 2021. 2021 Jets roster and players. So our tight ends, yeah, man, it's just bad. Ryan Griffin, Trayvon Wesco, and let's see if I can sort this by tight ends. Yeah, I can sort it by tight ends. So we had Trayvon Wesco, Tyler Kroft, Ryan Griffin. Not ideal coming from a staff where he was throwing to guys like George Kittle. It just did not make sense to me. We didn't do anything at tight end. So that really frustrated me. Backup quarterbacks thing really frustrated me. And I had questions about all the youth on the team in general. So that's one of the bigger blunders of Joe Douglas's time with the Jets so far to me. Yeah. North Dakota. Yeah, North Dakota. Or did I say North Dakota? I don't know if I did. Mentioned last week by the end of the season playoffs, question mark, Jets hope to run Jet NASCAR packages. Yeah, well, no, hey, you were right about Clemens. The thing is, though, with this is Clemens the best inside rusher next to Q. I don't agree with that. I'm okay with McDonald. Like I said, that really isolates one of the tackles. If it's Huff, really isolates the tackles. Now you have Q, but to me, and I think to a lot of people, you're not taking Clemens over JFM, right, on the inside. And really, at this point, I know people love Clemens and the brute, whatever. I know they love his personality. Right now, is Clemens a better interior rusher than Quentin Jefferson? I'm not taking him over Quentin Jefferson right now on the inside. I get that some people are going to think that's blasphemy, but if you look at Jefferson's numbers and how productive he is, and you look at the review that I'm going to do, he's a pretty good interior rusher. Clemens was already an unathletic, like an unathletic 275. Is he going to be an even more unathletic 290, or is it just going to add to his strength where now he overpowers guys? He's not trying to win with like bend and flexibility on the inside. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles that weight because it's not like he was McDonald where he's so loose and bending all that stuff. He was already kind of stiff. If Garrett gets targeted being a smaller wide receiver, we really don't have a legit number 2 or wide receiver 2 to rely on. That's why JSM is a better pick than Will. Yeah, and I know JSN had JSN, by the way. I think he had some medical stuff come up. I'm not sure. Now, at the time, I was hoping for JSN 100%, and I think he could make maybe more of an impact. But the thing is, with JSN, you take him, you get rid of Davis. So how much of an upgrade is JSN over Davis this year, assuming Davis is somewhat healthy? I'm not sure how much. Obviously, maybe slightly of an upgrade, but not so much. And Davis is still a solid receiver when healthy, and you're going to see that this year with Rodgers, in my opinion. Again, hopefully you get more health from him. But even if JSN would probably make more sense with getting rid of Davis. But at the end of the day, you heard him on the show. Like they didn't even have JSN in consideration there. It was McDonald, it was Meyer, and it was Broderick Jones. From I believe I don't know if they asked just like one person that question because a lot of people came out after like, oh well, it's clear that the Jets had the ranking of this, and that. But if I'm not mistaken, it was Joe Douglas asking one guy. That one guy said his 3 guys, so that doesn't mean that wasn't the other 40 guys' top 3 guys. That doesn't mean that wasn't Douglas's top 3 guys. So that was a little bit confusing in terms of people putting so much stock into that comment. But if they think Will McDonald's a better player than JSN and they have a plan to, okay, we're going to keep him fresh this year, we're going to rush him. Next year, we're going to maybe not have Huff and Lawson. And now you have JSN, you have JJ, you have JFM. Like, Will McDonald will make a lot more sense in 2023 than he will in 2024 than he will in 2023, in my opinion. So at the time, though, I completely understand that. I completely do. Conklin surprise. I thought about that, Verge. I did. Let's see tight end or top tight end receiving yards 2022, because this is what people like do, and this is why I'm surprised at some of the hate that he got. If you look at what he did, right, and with the Vikings, he had maybe 3 or 4 drops in his, and maybe it was even more. Let's just say it was 10 drops in his first 4 years with the Vikings. Like, he did not drop the ball a lot. Didn't have a lot of penalties, all that stuff. Didn't have a lot of fumbles. He comes to the Jets. His first 3 games, he has like 3 or 4 drops, and automatically, he sucks. He was a bad signing, all that stuff. But all of his other years with the Vikings, he didn't do that. So he has 4 years of a solid sample size of being a solid player. He disappointed with the Jets, but is he more of the player he was for 4 years, or is he more of the player with the 1 year? You probably lean towards 4 because it's a larger sample size, right? So Conklin, to me, is a better player than some people think he is. He's a really good route runner. He's not going to box guys out and stuff like that, but I like Conklin. And we're talking about him as, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He was 12th in receiving yards. 12th. We all wanted Schultz last year, right? We all were dying for Schultz. He had 25 more yards than him. Like, you have Goddard, who's we all argue is a good player. Goddard had 702 yards. He had 150 more yards than Conklin did with Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco. George Kittle. Again, I'm not comparing them one for one. He had 180 more yards than Conklin. Okay, it's not like Conklin did nothing last year. He had 552 yards. I could see Conklin getting. Now we can get into the weeds about how many the target share and how many targets are there to go around. The Jets run the ball more than they pass the ball, all this stuff. So that gets a little more like it clouds the situation. But I could easily see him getting 700, 800 yards. Like, I like Conklin. I do. I'm part of that hive. I think people will be more impressed this year as well. 49ers haven't been criticized about Lance because, yeah, I know, but he's not even in there. Like, they're talking about Lance versus Darwin now for starting. Now, did what's his name get? He did get injured, right? How long is he out for? I don't know. Most of the free agents played better their second year in the defense. Do you think that will hold true for Whitehead? Yeah, and like I get people are gonna say like I'm negative on stuff, but again, there are film reviews out there where it's not just he sucks because PFF said he sucks. Like, I specifically break down the plays and why I think that. I think he was worse with the Jets than he was with the Bucks, so I could see him bouncing back to somewhat respectable and maybe being an okay strong safety. Like, maybe that's what he was, just okay, and we paid him to be good. So yeah, I think there's a bounce back somewhat, but I still don't think he's going to be worth the price ever. I don't think he's ever going to be worth the price yet. So 3 things I'm concerned about with the Jets: coaching maturity with some guys in the locker room, and 3, defense step back this year. I don't see why the defense would take a step back. It should take a step up. You have Reed in the system for another year. You have Sauce. You have Q another year in the system. You added to the defensive line. You replace Quan. At the end of the day, you replace Quan with, let's just say, Clark, right? You have Whitehead still a strong safety. Free safety Joyner versus Adams. I'm taking Adams. I really am taking Adams. So we upgraded on the defensive line. We upgraded with experience at corner, just years. We upgraded at free safety. They were talking about statistically, and okay, we played however we're backup quarterbacks, sure, but how are you quantifying defensive stepping back? I think the defense will be better than last year. Is it going to finish at 4? Maybe not. Maybe finish at 6. I don't know. But vacation, Joe. Oh, you're on vacation in Alaska. Okay. Where at? Where are you from? I don't. Some people I'll remember where they're from, but obviously we interact with quite a few people. I can't put like faces to names. Like, I know Jan, I know Art, I know CD. I know some people because I see them, or like people who do the draft lists and stuff. Like I know their faces, but sometimes I forget people. So I apologize. I don't remember where you're from. I'm assuming, the tri-state. But Kev says Lawson re-injured Achilles last year. Did he need another surgery, or was rest enough? I don't remember. I there might have been a procedure involved, Kev, but Google it. He had another setback later in the offseason. Like it was like July or August or something like that. Let's see. I can look it up, right? I'm not pressed for time right now. Lawson re-injured leg. Let's see if that comes up. No, that's 2021. Somebody will find it. If you could find it, that'd be great. Because I know there was a report. I don't know exactly where it was from. But yeah, he had a setback in the offseason last year. So it wasn't clean. Randall Cobb says he knew when he and Aaron Rodgers walked off the field against the Detroit. I think the world knew that he was going to be the last game as a Packer. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Keep moving on. Salas says Jets are very optimistic. Yeah, that's something that I saw today too. Was Breece Hall was already, which we can argue the fact that should he be running 22 miles per hour in general, at this point. But they said he clocked at 22 miles per hour, and I believe his big run of the season against the Broncos was like 21.75 or something like that. So he's already running faster than he did last year against that. But ACLs ACLs and stuff, it's great to be able to run in a straight line. I'm more concerned about cutting. It's not about running in a straight line. It's about how is he going to jump cut? How is he going to stack cuts? That's the more serious part. So 22 sounds great, but let's see him dancing through the offensive line and hit some holes. That's where you really want to see him. But obviously that's a great report, right? Optimistic week one. You're hoping that you're hoping that Salah makes sure he's 100% before he goes. I'd rather have him at 100 and have to wait 3 or 4 weeks for him to come on the field than I would have to, playing at 80 and risking re-injury or something like that. So Jets having 24 in cap space is interesting. They might be saving up for me. Let's see. Chicky, Mosley, Whitehead, and Lawson, maybe Davis will all be on the roster this year, and their expiring contracts will send back multiples compensatory picks for 2024 draft. Yeah, well, you're assuming we're not going to be able to really do much in free agency next year, right? And is Mosley – the thing is, and again, sometimes I really just get tripped up with this stuff or I forget. If Mosley gets cut, though, I don't think it counts towards the compensatory picks, right? Because it has to be an expiring contract. So if you cut a guy, I don't think it counts. So I don't think Mosley would count because you're going to have to get rid of him in terms of cutting him. Now, Whitehead would count. Lawson would count, Davis would count, but I don't believe Mosley would. I could, again, complete transparency, I could be wrong on that, but I don't think it counts when you cut a guy. Chris, Kev, if any of the playoff contenders loses an edge early on, I could see JD trade Hupp. Yeah, no, I don't think that's out of the question. I don't. Now, I don't necessarily recommend it because I like Huff and he's one of the better edge rushers in terms of just being productive when he's on the field. So I don't recommend getting rid of that, especially in a Super Bowl year where you're going to need to make that big play on Patrick Mahomes in the conference championship. So we saw Huff, at least play a big factor in winning that Buffalo game, right? Like you still want him. I can see it happening though. I can see it. 2020 was a bubble, yeah. Speed Doctor. When going for Super Bowl teams like Bucks and Rams get an overload of talent, they never say we're good if they can add a guy like D-Hop. Big mistake of the Jets. Yeah, no, like I agree with you. At a certain point, if you have the cap flexibility enough so where you're not going to hurt yourself in years down the road, like you don't want to sell out all for 2023 and really blow up your team in 2024, 2025. You're absolutely dreadful. So there is a balance at a certain point. But with $24 million, with some cap space being able to be opened up with, again, Ashton Davis, Breece Hall, even the Q extension could push money into future years instead of this year. I don't want to go half in. And I get it's a good roster, and people are going to say, "Oh, well, the Jets are better than we ever were. We should be happy." Sure, we should be really happy with this roster compared to those other rosters because we sucked ass. And this year we're very, very good. We're a top 5, top 6 team. But with a 39-year-old quarterback who's trying to win the Super Bowl, go all in. Go all in. Evans, what do the other guys? What did one of you guys say? $14 million for 1 year. Hopkins is going to cost you what? If the Jets get him, 14, 15, 16 for 1 year. You know, Bayard was going to cost you. Was it $14 million, 13, 15, whatever it is this year? If you can't get a receiver, you add a Kevin Byard to the secondary. Like, holy shit. You're talking about probably the best secondary in the NFL if you add Byard, right? Like, we can talk about some other teams there, but the Jets have the best corner, probably trio in the league. Somebody said I'm negative last week, but I guess now I'm being too positive. Best trio in the league. You add one of the better safeties in the league to that with at least a decent, strong safety in Whitehead / Clark. Okay. After Aaron Rodgers' end of the season McAfee interview, when he mentioned his relationship with Zach Wilson, Rodgers and his circle hoped he would join the Jets. I don't know. I'm not really following that so much. Is that a report like that he was hoping for like right off the jump? I don't know. One thing I can't stand about NY is people stalking Aaron Rodgers with cameras going to Taylor Swift. Yeah, it's going to happen though, Eagle. Like you're listen. At the end of the day, how many people saw that article or clicked on that article? That's their job. So they did their job. What I can tell you, what I hate about New York, New Jersey is my biggest pet peeve, and it drives me bananas. And especially after driving in Europe, if any one of you 67 or one of the couple thousand people or whoever who watch the show after, if you are one of the people who drive 50 miles per hour in the passing lane and you're not passing a car, I hate you. I hate you. You're just so unaware. Just if you're not passing a car in Italy and you're in the left-hand lane, you are getting destroyed by their cars, beeping at you, honking at you, yelling out the window. In Italy, even if they're going 100 miles per hour past cars, if they can move over to the right side for a second to not be in that left lane because they're not passing, they do it. If we can all just learn that, the streets would be so much better. But people in New Jersey and New York suck at driving and just, left lane, I'm happy here. Like driving 45 and a 50 in the fast lane. There's just two cars boxing me in, and I was so tempted to just whip it into the shoulder. I hate that. That's my biggest pet peeve. So if you guys do that, you suck. Sorry. Jets were also in on Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers, but Joe Tippmann was a good pick. Yeah, and that's another thing that you can take away from the which, by the way, I think it's almost a complete lock that the Hard Knocks is going to be the Jets because they haven't announced it yet. The Jets have their finale of the show. I don't know if it's this week, I don't know if it's next week, but they're running through these shows pretty quickly. Last year was like maybe 5 or was it maybe more than this year? I don't know. But I believe it was like 5 or 6 episodes, and they were a little bit more spread out, or maybe potentially. This year it feels like shorter or less episodes, and it's coming out a little bit quicker. So I think they're trying to get this out before Hard Knocks says, hey, we're going to the Jets. And maybe they have an agreement like, hey, listen, at the end of the day, yeah, we'll do Hard Knocks, or they can't even deny it, but yeah, we'll do Hard Knocks. But let us at least put out our product so people are excited about it. But I think Hard Knocks is a lock. I think that's going to be happening. But you saw the scene where Joe Douglas is asking their scouts about Tippmann, and everybody had him over JMS. It seemed like that was a universal thing in the Jets room that they liked him over JMS, and that might be a scheme fit thing, running more with Tippmann over JMS. We also heard guys like Flowers and Addison, and all of those guys had Tippmann over him, so they really liked Tippmann, and Tippmann was a good pick. I like that pick overall. I'm actually going to be doing his review, I believe tomorrow. And then the whole thing, like Douglas knew that Broderick Jones had a feeling that somebody's going to trade over them for Broderick Jones. And again, it seemed like they didn't have him as high as some people thought they did, which some people could have guessed because Broderick Jones wasn't that good of a prospect. Let's be real here. None of the prospects this year were great prospects in terms of the offensive line. Skronsky, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, Darnell Wright, all of those guys would have been the 5, 6, 7, 8 in the year that Becton came out. All the guys in Becton's class were better than these guys. Whether that be Wirfs, Wills, Becton, or Thomas. Now, maybe I'd argue Thomas over some people at that time when Thomas came out. I didn't love him just based on the lack of athleticism. He obviously turned out pretty well. You're going to miss him times. I can't wait to watch Garrett Wilson year 2. Scott Wilson. Well, hey, if you want to watch Garrett Wilson in film review of his year 1, just came out a couple of hours ago, so go watch that. See why you should be so excited about year 2 or not so excited about year 2. There are some players who I thought I was higher on than I was, or lower on than I should have been, or whatever, that watching them again and breaking down really changed my mind. Garrett Wilson, I was still thrilled watching him. So Also, them considering Meyer over Jones at 15 was interesting. Yeah, like I don't want to start to process what that would have been like. You have Meyer. You're assuming he's at 15. He's going to play a lot, and then Conklin's your 2. Uzama's making like $10 million to be your 3, and you have a third round guy in his second year at 4. That I wouldn't have loved the roster dynamics there, but and especially considering like tight ends are one of those spots where, to simplify it, you're playing both offensive line and you're playing receiver. So it takes quite a while to learn for tight ends. So I don't know how big of his impact or how big he would have impacted the team in 2023 and 4. So I wouldn't have loved that move. That's for sure. Jets had Tippmann ranked ahead of wide receivers Zay and Addison. Yeah. Yep. Did playing in the dome help Conklin with turnovers and missed receptions? No, that doesn't affect anything. Now you're going to say like weather was inclement when he had those drops and stuff, but it was the first couple of weeks, and it was raining. The week 1, I forget how many drops he had. So I guess you're going to say, yeah, the rain might have hurt him, but I don't think it's like if you're trying to make that connection of he's playing outside now more, so he's going to have more drops and stuff. I think that's a little bit of a reach. Maybe it's a slight part of it, but not enough to say that's the exact reason. Jacob Finnegan, you could argue Hopkins' elite play last year has something to do with steroids. His play style drops off hard. I disagree with that. His play style is he's a big guy who boxes guys out, and he doesn't rely on speed. He's never relied on speed. He's never relied on athleticism. He relied on, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm going to catch this ball over you. And you can keep strength into your later years. You can't keep the ability to cut, the ability to get in and out of breaks, the speed, the acceleration. So I don't think his play style actually drops off so hard. Now, you could say that his elite play last year had something to do with steroids, but he got suspended for it and then came back. So he's not doing them. It's not like you take steroids and like 4 months later, it's still in your system, really. Like and with that being said, with the steroids, he was playing just as well prior to the steroids as well. So I'm more concerned. I'm not going to say the steroids led to his elite play last year. The only thing that concerns me about the steroids is, 1, he did them, and 2, if you are taking steroids, is it because you're noticing a drop off? Whether that be like obviously you can test for testosterone levels and all that stuff. Is he noticing a drop and saying, no, I need to do this? That's the bigger concern. I don't think the steroids has something to do with his actual play though. And I also disagree that his play style drops off hard because he doesn't rely on athleticism. You could be big and strong at 40. I think the setback from the defense comes from a bunch of factors. How long will Williams hold out last? So I don't think Williams holdout has anything to do with how he's going to play in 2023. It seems like they are progressing, or at least that was a report. Linebacker core is mid at best. It was also mid at best last year. And I'm going to say that overall, Clark is going to be a more impactful player than Quan would be in the role that he's going to play for the Jets. So you upgraded slightly at linebacker, but still, okay, mid. We can argue that. Fine, we'll call it mid. It's fine. Williams will be the same player. Linebacker core is mid, but even slightly improved. Safety concerns, but the safety group is also better than last year. So where do they downgrade on defense? Now we could say, okay, Rankins is a loss, but you also have an upgrade in Woods in terms of the run defense. So if Saleh plays it correctly on the defensive line, I'm not so worried about Rankins. So, I think the defense there's questions, but not more or so than last year. Swolsey, did we talk about AR's comments about Adams being the best receiver in the league between this and Jimmy's foot issues? Oh, I didn't see anything about that, Swolsey. Obviously, I've been on with you guys, so I don't know if he said anything, if he got interviewed or if there's a press conference and he mentioned Adams. But yeah, like at this point, Adams questioned the GM. I know he came out and said whatever he did after kind of downplaying the potential trade request. But is Adams at 31 years old, willing to play with a backup quarterback? Like, what's the Raiders are in such a shitty spot where they're a bad team and they have a bunch of old guys. Like they have Chandler Jones and Devontae Adams, and what are they going to win 7 games this year? Like, how does it make sense to keep Devontae? So if I'm the Raiders, I'm trading Devontae for whatever you can. And I would love to do that. Oh yeah, sorry. If I said Achilles, that's just because I was thinking about Lawson or something like that. But yeah, no, it was ACL, not Achilles. But even if it's still about the cutting, regardless. Did I say Achilles for Breece? That's my bad. Isn't Breece more of a shifty back than explosive? I think there's a good combo of each. I don't think he's overly explosive. I don't think he's overly shifty. He's a nice combo. But it's not like Breece is slow. When he reached that 21.7, whatever it was, miles per hour, that was like the fastest of the season at that point. So he can move. He can definitely move. I'm not saying is he a Banacanda fast? Is he has more top end speed and more acceleration? I'm watching Izzy a lot. That's gonna be an interesting review. I don't think he's some slam dunk guy in the 5th round like some people think he is. There's quite a few problems with vision running upright. He goes down by arm tackles and shoestring tackles all the time. So he's a guy who's going to frustrate you where he's going to get 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard. He's not very creative in the backfield in terms of like avoiding tackles and things like that. He'll just run into guys, but then he'll break one for 70. So he's going to be frustrating, but also exciting at the same time. Like he's not consistent back at all though. So let's see. We have an insane. This is from Rusty. The return. So it was Rusty, and then it was the return of Rusty. But then you were gone again for a while, right? So it should be the return of the Rusty Swooner. So we have an insane 4N DN rotation with Clemens, Huff, JJ, McDonald, and Lawson. That's 5, my guy. Then D tackle with Q, JFM, Jefferson, and Woods. But really, it's you kind of got to put JFM. My voice is gone because I'm doing a lot of podcasting and now I've been talking for quite a while, so I apologize if I can hear me clear my throat a little bit. Clemens is both a DN and a D tackle, and JFM is going to play more DN than D tackle. But I think, are you forgetting something at the end? Clemens, Huff, JJ, McDonald, and Lawson. No. The only D tackle you're forgetting about is Solomon Thomas. Would they cut him at this point? I don't know. To me, it's not worth carrying. I don't know what he provides to you. Minus, he's like a good guy, but good guy doesn't get you a roster spot. Then our secondary is insane. Also with fast, alert linebackers, very good. It's a very good defense. It is. I think it's a very, very good defense that could be elite with a true free safety. Devontae Adams speculation. What would you give up for him if he wants out of Vegas? It's always hard to like formulate an opinion like that on the spot. But right now, a 2nd round pick. Like, what's the contract though? That's kind of my question. So I know it's quite a bit in terms of what he's owed. But my general, like in a vacuum thought, a 2nd round pick. I know he's older, and next year we wouldn't have a 1st or a 2nd. But if you're going for it all, go for it all. And if you have Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, you have the best receiver duo in the league. You have the best receiver duo in the league, right? Who's better? There's nobody better. And I get you. You're gonna argue. I guess you can argue. You can argue. Huh? No, you can argue the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins are up there, and then people will say the Bengals. T. Higgins is a very good receiver too, and I would say a lower end one. But I don't think he's Adams. He's not Garrett Wilson. He's not Jalen Waddle. So I think you'd be in contention with the Dolphins for the best receiver duo in the league. And I think that Garrett Wilson's a legitimate top 10 receiver. He'll be the top 10 receiver this year. Adams is still, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, maybe even 5. And Hill is up there as well. So like Hill and Adams are on the same kind of plane. But I think I'm taking Garrett Wilson over Jalen Waddle. And then past that, we could talk about the Dolphins 3, 4, 5, but I'm taking Lazard and what we have as backups as well. Lazard, Hardman, and Cobb as your 3, 4, 5 with Adams and Wilson. Jeez, dude. And on top of that, I think a good receiving tight end in Conklin, a stud running back in Hall, an okay offensive line. You're talking about an absolute stacked offense. That'd be ridiculous. I really believe Ruckert will be the diamond in the rough this year from Eagle. I think he could do so much in the run and passing game if he works and earns it. I don't see him as a tight end receiver. I see him as all around tight end. Yeah, I liked Ruckert. I liked his tape. Obviously, he was raw at Ohio State because they didn't really use their tight ends a lot in the passing game. So he has a way to go in terms of development, but he was solid towards the end of last year, and I liked what he did in college. Like because one, tight ends take a long time to adjust in the NFL anyway. And people are so damn impatient that, he didn't play a lot in year 1, he must suck. So now everybody just doesn't even consider Jeremy Ruckert an option at tight end. He's going to come out, and I think he's going to do some stuff for us this year. So fullback packages for Ruckert as well. Yeah, I think they're gonna deploy him in that and see exactly how he stacks up and if he's good enough to not carry Baldwin on the roster. You guys are killing the chat, by the way. I'm not even caught to the chat, and it's been like 60, 70 now, 80 people in here. So I really appreciate everybody in here for helping me with some of these topics. I like just talking to you guys too. What's up, Joe and fellow gangrene fan? We finally got that mindset. Let's go, Jets. Appreciate you being here, Rusty. Swolsey says, I mentioned this on Twitter earlier. Am I the only one that finds it interesting that more teams were interested in OBJ than it seems like they were in on the hop? Well, obviously the interest is kind of it's OBJ had a while to kind of cook. He take visits and all that stuff. So I would say that more teams are going to be willing to pay Hopkins what OBJ got, or even a little bit more. OBJ is a little bit more public because we saw him talking to the Jets, so obviously automatically to us it's going to seem like more. He was taking, he was going to the owners' meetings and taking visits and stuff like that. So it was out there a little bit more. Hopkins, I'm sure he'll kick up. A buddy of mine used to throw pennies at car that drove still in the fast lane. Yeah, I would avoid that, but I don't agree. I don't disagree with the sentiment. It drives me wild. Who was the Cody Mock? He was a tackle from like North Dakota State that was drafted maybe 4 or 5 picks after Tippmann. So I think he's a tackle who's going to be a guard or something like that. Or maybe I think he's a tackle who could play guard and center. So, but yeah, he was taken maybe 5 or 10 picks after. Sauce in year 2 might be the greatest cornerback of all time. Dude was beyond spectacular as a rookie. If he's better than last year, it's going to be a nice once in a 30, 50 year. Listen, I like Sauce a lot too, but once in a 30, 50 year type of player, like we already had that in Revis. So is it a 1 in a 20 year type of player? I get what you're saying. And I think he could legitimately be the best corner in football this year. Do I think he's the best corner in football last year? I don't. I just finished recording 40 plays of his review. There are some plays he got beat on that people don't really think about. There's a time where he got burned by Hill, wasn't targeted. There's a time he got beat by Deontay Johnson, ball wasn't caught. There's a time he got beat by Pickens. There's a penalty, so it didn't count. Like he was very good his rookie year. I think people are a little bit early to say, okay, he's the number 1 corner in the league, like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in. And he got better towards the end of the year. So I think he's definitely in that top 5 of corners for sure. And I think he could be number 1, but we had a once in a 30, 50 year type of player in Revis 10 years ago. So is it truly 30 or 50 years? I get what you're saying. I'm being, whatever. Anybody want to answer me? Oh, yeah, I just did a couple minutes later. So hopefully you're still listening. Joe, what is your Stanley Cup and NBA final prediction? Florida Panthers versus Golden Knights, and yeah, no, I know, yeah, I know who they are. The one thing, I think the Nuggets are going to take it. I'm okay either way with whoever wins. Actually, no, I'm rooting for the Nuggets. So my problem with the Heat versus Nuggets is I like Jimmy Butler. I like the Heat as a team. They're gritty. They don't have a lot of studs, but they work really well together. So I like that. But I also know that people who are rooting for the Heat also most likely root for the Dolphins, and fuck that. I cannot have the people being happy, so give me the Nuggets. That's how I think. Florida Panthers versus Knights, same thing. Florida has 2 teams in the championship right now. Fuck Dolphins fans, Knights. So I'm all West Coast for the Stanley Cup and the NBA finals. Sorry, Solzy. PDs are often used more for recovery. I wonder if that's what's impacting teams' interest. Maybe they think he's going to fall off from post PDs. You see this fall off in fighters all the time. Yeah, that's something for them to look at. They're much more knowledgeable in that than I am, obviously. That's something that they look into. And there is concern there. I'm not saying it's a lock that he's going to be an absolute superstar with the Jets like he was a couple of years ago. But do I still think he could be like the best number 2 in the league? Yeah, I'm taking that. If the Jets somehow manage getting Adam, I'm dogging everyone with them on Madden. It's fun, right? Yeah. Madden. So I play Madden, but admittedly, the game is terrible. Like absolutely terrible. You have games where it literally looks like you're in the world, and you have VR, you have all this stuff, and Madden is still so fucking lazy that they can't even put the names on the back of the jerseys when they're standing on the sideline. So you see players standing on the sideline, and it looks like a guy who's a 110-pound white guy with a number on his back and no name. It's like, really? Like, really? That's the quality of game we're playing here. So I got it this year. I played for like maybe a month. What me and my friends typically do is there's like 4 or 5 of us, and we all pick a team and you do like a fantasy draft, and you play the seasons. You got to play a game a week or whatever it is. And it fell off after like a month this year. This game is terrible, man. So I might be done with Madden forever unless they change it. I think they're changing providers, all right. Like Madden 24 or 23 or 24, whatever it's going to be, has like its last shot to produce. and then somebody else will hopefully take it over because it's legitimately one of the worst games out there. I just love football. Do you think the Ruckert and Kuntz is the future tight end? I think Ruckert's a part of it. I think obviously you draft Kuntz with the hope that he could be that because of his physical upside. Would I bet on it? No. Listen. At the end of the day, he's a seventh round tight end who's super raw. He has good athleticism, but you watch him play, he does not match up to that athleticism when he plays. He's a 7th round pick for a reason, right? Like people make these reviews and put up these highlight films of him like he should have been a 1st round pick, and he's a 7th round pick. There's some stuff he's going to be weak at, right? We'll break that down. I will break that down for you. But no, I'm not going to bet on Kuntz being the future of the tight end. Ruckert, I think, is a part of it. Ruckert's a part of it. Kuntz is probably less than a coin flip, realistically, right? If we're being realistic. Brown Smith, Garrett Waddle, no green glasses, here's the truth. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Waddle has the breakaway speed that Garrett does not have, but Garrett's the overall better player. I'm completely with that. Chris Sims isn't exactly a Jets fan favorite, but he did have Ruckert as his tight end one last year. Sauce also got burned by Claypool in the Bears game as well. Yeah, no, like listen, Sauce was very good, but he got beat by Claypool, he got beat by Pickens, he got beat by Hill, and the play that Hill burned him deep, I misremembered. He did get the ball targeted, but the ball was severely underthrown by Skylar Thompson, and then Sauce got the PI on that play. But he was Sauce. Hill was a good 2-3 yards ahead of him with room. So if that ball was led, it was probably I think like 80-yard touchdown on that play. Even the play, there's some plays that we think about, and I literally just worked them down since it's on the top of my head, where we remember very fondly. But in all reality, the process wasn't good how he got there. The pick against the Dolphins, he actually didn't play that so well. The athleticism took over, and he got the pick. But if that ball was on time and JFM didn't pick that or didn't hit the receiver's arm or the quarterback's arm, that's a completion on Sauce. The play where Lazard was running across the field and Sauce had the deflection, he's actually very far off there, and he's lucky the ball was behind and late from Rodgers, which it was after he hurt his thumb. PD. So we remember those plays well. The process wasn't good. The result was good. I love Sauce. I do. I think he's a top 5 corner in the NFL. But do I think he's the best corner in the NFL right now? I think he has slight improvement to go. Listen, I love him. I know people are like, oh my God, you're so negative, but it's just I'm just being honest, and it's all out there. Actually, I'm just gonna Google Drive. I forgot to upload that show that I just did that I should have uploaded. So let's go to the next question while I kind of do that. Will you be bummed if JMS turns out better than Tippmann, both being in NY? Yeah, I think generally, obviously, if there was a center prospect who they were considering who goes just a few picks after the center you took, and he's better, then yeah, there is some buyer's remorse, like damn, maybe we could have had JMS. But who's to say if JMS didn't come here and was asked to fit in our system, he would be as good as he is with the Giants, because we are a very horizontal offense. So who's to say he would be as good here, in that case? So it's kind of hard to say to that, but I get the sentiment, if you feel what I'm saying there. Hold on, just give me 2 seconds. I'm just uploading this bad boy. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to do this now. I'll do it in 2 seconds. So yeah, there's a lot of factors into that. It's not just like, 1 for 1. He definitely would have been better here, right? So besides Michael Clemens, what Jet do you give the best chance to survive with Michael? Actually, I think Michael Clemens might be too brute and I'm a badass, and he might just get eaten. Like he might be like, I got this, and he runs out of the house and he gets eaten because he gets outnumbered. You have to have really analytical, smart guys. So I think Rodgers would probably be. I think Rodgers would probably be a good one. I think AVT would probably be a good one. Who else? Al Woods. Al Woods, country guy, cattle farming. Al Woods, Aaron Rodgers, and AVT off the top of my head would be the top 3 there. Did you see the Le'Veon Bell comments on Adam Gase? I know Gase was a garbage NFL coach, but Bell still owes it. Yeah, I saw some of them criticizing Gase and whatever. Listen, at the end of the day, at that time I was excited for the move because the Jets lack a superstar from really what we signed him in 19. So since Brandon Marshall in 15, we didn't have a superstar on the team for 4 years, really. So I liked it, but realistically, looking back at that, you have a running back who's uber patient behind the line of scrimmage. So you need a good offensive line to open up holes for you, where the Jets had the 32nd ranked offensive line in the league. And if a gap is there for half a second, you got to hit it because it's going to close. So you have a patient runner with a shitty offensive line. It's just never going to work out. It made no sense. It really made no sense. Lowering Bam's MO are chopping, twisting. Yeah. I've seen that. And I also think that Jokic, he gets some like unnecessary hate. Like he's a pretty good player. I don't get the hate with that guy, but I don't know. Every time I'm watching, he seems to play pretty damn well. The problem with Sauce is the athleticism. He has near perfect form. Yeah, no. So supposedly, and legitimately, I said this quite often in the review I just did. It's the opposite. It's Sauce has elite athleticism, but his form is not always great. There's some times where he shuffles where I don't want to see him shuffle. He lets guys attack his blind spot. There's sometimes he opens his hips up a little bit too early. There's sometimes he's overconfident in himself and his athleticism, even though it's great. There's sometimes he puts himself into compromised positions. So it's actually the opposite. It's A plus athleticism, A athleticism with B plus form. If he didn't have elite athleticism, he doesn't get that pick against the Dolphins. He doesn't get there's a pass breakup, I believe, against Cincinnati that he had elite athleticism. There's a couple of plays. So it's the opposite. But athlete with long arms to compensate for your form always has to be perfect. Yeah, no, his size helps him. Obviously, the length helps him, the size helps him, and he's elite getting out his breaks for his size. But it's the form. There's sometimes he plays a little bit too far in no man's land, a couple of yards off the line of scrimmage. Then he's not able to get hands on. He's not also able to take those read steps to read the quarterback. There's a bunch of stuff I broke down if you guys want to go watch it. But EA and Madden are signed long term, sadly. No, I don't think you're right. I'm pretty sure I heard something that they're gonna give it up this year if it's as bad, which they should. You haven't changed the game in 20 years. Madden 08 on PS2. Was that the one with Vince Young in the front? Really, the last one I remember liking was the what one was that Ray Lewis 05? I forget, but there was a year in high school. That was 2010. I was junior year, and we were doing stupid stuff, smoking, joking all the time, and we have our fun, and then we play Madden, and we could play in a franchise. So my one friend would be the quarterback, I would be the running back, and the guy would be the receiver. It was fun, and they took that out. For what reason? Because you're an idiot. Any negatives to a center being 6'6"? Yeah, in general there are. Now there's some positives as well to it. Obviously, the length is a positive to it, but you're gonna in the NFL as a center face a lot of squatter defensive tackles who are gonna fire into your chest pretty much immediately, and you are automatically going to have the leverage disadvantage because of how high you are. And it's not even really the helmet; it's more the waist. You want your waist level to be below the guy's waist who you're blocking or you're taking on. Because that's where your center of gravity is from. It's all about the hips, and you'll because if you see a guy just bend from the waist and get lower, that doesn't mean it's good leverage. There's good and bad leverage. So yeah, there's a negative in terms of just his natural leverage, but it would be more of a concern for me with Tippmann if he wasn't a guy who was flexible with his lower half, who played low, who typically plays with the deep end. It would be more of a concern, but he typically plays low in general. So there's going to be times where there's going to be a guy who gets under his pads. He struggles to anchor down because they're below him. Again, it's all about the hips. And he gets driven back into the quarterback. But there's also going to be times where he, passes off a stunt really well and reaches a guy well because of the length. So there's positives and negatives. But yeah, in general, you don't want to be that tall as a center. That's why you've only seen maybe 3, 4, 5 centers who have really been that height. One thing frustrating about Madden is how lazy they are with face scanning. Yeah, dude. You have guys who are studs who look like they have the same 5 faces. That again, the numbers on the sideline thing is just appalling to me. And there's always been a glitch in Madden, and I don't want to get into a Madden thing, but you guys are bringing it up. Every single year in Madden, the computer calls a timeout at 101. You can bank on it. They're gonna call a timeout at 101. There'll be plays where you get tackled and then the ball gets fumbled and there's 45 guys around the ball and they're all running into it and it just runs out of bounds. It's a really, really shitty product. Really, really shitty product. Damn, Tim. Yeah, dude. Legitimately, I started this at 2:35. I finished a review at 2:32. Swolsey. So it's out there. Or it'll be out there probably tomorrow, the next day. But again, Rodgers is out there, Wilson's out there, McDonald's out there. You're going to be getting 25 more reviews by the end of the offseason, and hopefully 26 because we bring in a stud. Just to win Jets. First time seeing it here, I believe. We need insurance for Garrett Wilson. Every elite team has 2. Well, no. Right? How many yards did Gabe Davis have last year? I'm not saying they're elite, but you get what I'm saying. The Eagles, yeah, they're up there. The Niners, Ayuk is very good. and he's better than anything they have. The Jets have at number 2, but was he a 1K guy? He might have been. Just again, I'm just kind of throwing my thoughts out there. Bengals, yes. Chiefs, no. But again, you have Mahomes, you have Andy Reid, so you only need Kelsey. And for a while, obviously that Kelsey and Hill. So I get it. I'm not gonna say definitely. I'm not saying like elite 2. Like even if Corey Davis was just healthy, I would be happy with it. But that kind of almost aids your point, Justin Jets, because Davis, when healthy, was like a 1,000-ish yard guy with the Titans. I get he never got it, but the one year he had like 994 yards or something like that. So yeah, you need 2 guys. You need 2 good guys for sure. And I think the Jets have a good 1. I think they have a good 3. I think they have another good 3 or a solid 3. I think they have a good 4. I think they have a good 5. But I don't think they have a good 2. The good depth, but I would like to see more at the top as well. Ideally. Now, are we nitpicking? Sure, I don't know. By the way, how did Bell get away with smoking weed before every game of the Steelers? So typically with this, Kevin, and I don't know if this has changed in recent years, but based on my knowledge of how they test is, you have a testing window. So for people who fail or idiots, again, this is talking about based on my knowledge and past years of this, you have a testing window. So if the testing window was somewhere from like March to May or March to June, so you could smoke or edibles or whatever, you could smoke from June, July, August, September, November, December, as long as you stop early enough to get clean, which obviously it sticks to your fat cells. So it's going to be lesser time for elite athletes than you and I. But then once you fail the first time, then you get tested randomly, I believe, a lot more. So it's harder to do that. So as long as you don't fail the first time, just don't be an idiot and just don't smoke for those like 5 or 6 months. But those other 5 or 6 months you can. So I'm assuming at that time he wasn't tested positive ever. So he was smoking before games. But you also heard, what's his name? I saw the comment of Derek Wolfe on Joe Rogan. He said he would microdose mushroom. I don't know if it was microdose. He would do mushrooms before games. So you could do that stuff. And mushrooms, it lasts for only, I believe, a couple of days in your system. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, no, people like to get high and play sports. We need insurance for. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. In your mind, Joe, does Zach have any chance to realize his talent? No. Now, I'm never going to say absolutely not. There's no chance because there's always a chance. There's always that 1% chance. But yeah, it's about a 1% chance right now. So I'm going to say no. Terrell Owens, I don't know, 2005. You said 2005 twice, 2 guys. I think 08 was Vince Young. Okay, let's see. And if there's any other questions, throw them out there. If I have any other, I think I have a couple of topics I could hit really quickly, but it's been about 2 hours, so it's a good stream by myself. There's not much to talk about, but you guys have been killing it. In my opinion, wrestling background makes excellent center skills. That's why I'm thinking JSN is center 1. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Just because like naturally you're gonna know how to use the guy's leverage against them. You're gonna know how to. A really big thing about wrestling is knowing how to recover from shitty positions, having that core strength, and knowing how to use guys' momentum against them. Like you don't have to go force. Like you need to know how to deflect force. So, push first, lift, or pull or like there's a lot of just deflecting force, and there's 4 different types of force you typically talk about in football. You got push, you got pull, you got lift, and you got torque. You got to know how to use those different types of way to deflect the opposing defenders or the opposing player's force. I don't believe I don't believe weed is tested during the year like PEDs. Yeah. I'm not sure about the PED testing, but I'm pretty sure for the weed stuff, it's just like a 3 or 4 month window. So as long as you don't fail in those months and you don't get on that list where they have to test you more often, then whatever. He looked up to Ricky Williams. Okay, let's see if I have anything else. If you guys want to drop anything else in there. I was going to bring up overrated and underrated signings and things like that, just to have something to talk about. We've already hit 2 hours, so I don't want to eat up that topic. Just because I was watching some draft picks, I'm like, is he a little bit overrated? Is this signing a little bit overrated? Is this guy underrated? Is this draft pick underrated? So I guess I'll talk about that later on with Kyle. It looks like the stream is about done at this point. 2 hours. I appreciate you guys for sticking around. Again, this will start to be uploaded to podcast form. So if you do prefer to listen or you don't have time a week, whatever, to watch the whole thing, Blewett Splits on any podcast app. I really appreciate a review, a rating, because there probably hasn't been one there in 2 years because I haven't done a podcast in 2 years. So I really appreciate that. Ton of reviews coming again. 3 are already out. You have 25 more coming. These reviews are all an hour to 2.5 hours. I know that's a lot for people, but even if you just put it on for 45 minutes, you get the gist of it, and you see what I'm talking about with these guys. Let's say overrated, underrated, technique-wise, sauce, all this stuff. I show it. So I appreciate you guys a lot. I will see you soon. And go Jets.